The stars twinkled in the dark void of space as the massive alien vessel hung silently above Earth. Inside the ship, Commander Lyrics moved his crystalline body toward the main observation deck. His form glowed with soft blue light as he approached, the wide viewing panel that looked down upon the blue and green planet below. "Status report," Lyric said to the crew members working at their stations. Lieutenant Zara, her crystalline form smaller and tinged with purple light, approached her. "Commander, all cloaking systems functioning at optimal capacity. The humans remain unaware of our presence as they have for the past 50 years. Lyrics pulsed with satisfaction. The Void Watchers had been observing Earth longer than any other inhabited planet in this sector of the galaxy. Their mission was simple: watch, record, and report back to the Galactic Consortium. Humans were considered an interesting but volatile species, too dangerous and unpredictable to be contacted until they reached a higher level of civilization. "And our data collection?" Lyrics asked. "Proceeding as planned. We have been documenting their television broadcasts, internet communications, and military activities. The humans continue to fight among themselves over resources and ideologies." Lyrics moved closer to the viewing panel. Such a waste of potential. They could achieve so much if they worked together. "Do you think they will ever be ready to join the consortium?" Zara asked. "Perhaps in another 3 centuries if they don't destroy themselves first." Lyrics turned away from the view of Earth. "Continue monitoring all frequencies and maintain our position. I want daily reports on their major governmental activities." Down on Earth, in a remote research facility nestled among the mountains of Montana, Dr. Alice Bennett rubbed her tired eyes and stared at the computer screen in front of her. The clock on the wall read 2:37 a.m., but she had lost track of time. Hours ago. Her small office was cluttered with empty coffee cups and technical journals. Alice was a quantum physicist working on a detection system that could identify subatomic disturbances in the atmosphere. The project had started as a way to improve weather prediction models, but lately, her equipment had been picking up strange readings that didn't make any sense. She took another sip of cold coffee and frowned at the data. There was a pattern forming. Something in high Earth orbit was creating quantum fluctuations that didn't match any known satellite or space debris. She had checked with NASA 3 times, and there was nothing registered that could explain what she was seeing. "This can't be right," she muttered to herself. She ran the calibration sequence again, but the results came back the same. Something was up there, something big, but it wasn't showing up on any conventional radar or telescope. Alice reached for her phone and called her colleague. After 4 rings, a groggy voice answered. "Do you know what time it is, Alice?" "Frank, I need you to come to the lab. There's something you need to see." "Can't it wait until morning?" "No, it can't. I think I found something unusual." There was a pause on the other end, then a sigh. "Give me 20 minutes. Exactly 18 minutes later, Dr. Frank Wilson walked through the laboratory door. His normally neat brown hair was disheveled, and he was still buttoning his wrinkled shirt. Frank had been Alice's research partner for 3 years, and he knew her well enough to know she wouldn't call in the middle of the night unless it was important. "This better be good," he said, trying to sound annoyed but unable to hide his curiosity. Alice pointed to her computer screen. "Look at these readings from the quantum detection array. See this pattern? It repeats every 6.2 hours. Frank leaned closer, his tiredness forgotten. "That's not natural." "Exactly. And look here. The energy signature suggests some kind of advanced technology. It's almost like a cloaking field, like something is trying very hard not to be seen." "A cloaking field?" Frank raised an eyebrow. "Like in science fiction?" Alice shook her head. "I know how it sounds, but I've ruled out every other possibility. Something is orbiting Earth, something big, and it's using technology way beyond anything we have." Frank sat down heavily in the chair next to her. "You're talking about aliens?" Alice bit her lip. "I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's something up there that shouldn't be, and it's using technology we don't understand." Back on the Void Watcher vessel, an alarm suddenly sounded. One of the crew members rushed to a control panel. "Commander, we have detected An unusual energy pulse from the surface. It appears to be directed at our location. Lyrix moved quickly to the monitoring station. Show me. A display lit up, showing a small research facility in a mountainous region of the North American continent. Data scrolled across the screen, indicating a quantum detection array had been activated. Impossible, Lyrix said, his crystalline form pulsing with alarm. Their technology shouldn't be advanced enough to detect our presence. Lieutenant Zara analyzed the data. The pulse is specifically targeting the frequency of our cloaking field. It's almost as if they know exactly what to look for. Increase power to the cloaking systems, Lyrix ordered. Route additional energy from secondary systems if necessary. Commander, Zara said hesitantly, if we increase power, we risk creating even stronger quantum disturbances. That might make us more visible to their detection system, not less. Lyrix hesitated, facing a situation no Void Watcher had encountered before. Their entire mission was based on the assumption that humans couldn't detect them. If that assumption was wrong, everything changed. In Montana, Alice and Frank worked through the night, refining their detection system. By dawn, they had mapped the exact orbital path of the unknown object and confirmed its massive size, at least a half-mile across. We need to tell someone about this, Frank said, his face pale in the light of the rising sun coming through the window. Alice nodded. I've already sent an encrypted message to my old professor at MIT. He has connections in the government. If anyone will know what to do with this information, it's him. Frank looked up at the clear blue morning sky. Do you think they know we can see them? Alice followed his gaze. I don't know, but I think we're about to find out. On the Void Watcher, vessel, an emergency council had been convened. All senior officers gathered around the central chamber, their crystalline forms reflecting the dim blue light. This changes everything, Lyrix said to the assembled crew. If humans have developed technology capable of detecting us, we must reconsider our entire approach to this species. Lieutenant Zara projected an image of the Montana facility. The detection came from this small research installation. Only 2 humans appear to be involved so far. Then we still have time, another officer suggested. We could relocate to a higher orbit, or perhaps use our influence to discredit their findings. Lyrix's form darkened slightly, indicating disapproval. No. The consortium protocols are clear. If a species develops the capability to detect Void Watchers independently, it demonstrates a level of technological advancement that requires reassessment. What are you suggesting, Commander? Zara asked. Lyrix moved to the center of the chamber, his decision made. Prepare a report for the consortium. The humans have surprised us. They have seen what no other observed species has seen before. The time for merely watching is coming to an end. The silent observers had been seen and nothing would ever be the same again. 3 days after their discovery, Alice and Frank found themselves in a secure government facility beneath the Pentagon. The room was filled with serious-looking people in military uniforms and dark suits. Large screens covered the walls, displaying data from the Montana detection array. Alice stood at the front of the room, trying to keep her voice steady as she explained their findings to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and several cabinet members. The quantum signature is unmistakable, she said, pointing to a graph on the main screen. There's a massive object in Earth orbit, approximately half a mile in diameter using some kind of advanced cloaking technology. A gray-haired general leaned forward. And you're certain this isn't some kind of natural phenomenon? Frank stepped forward with a tablet in hand. We've ruled out every natural explanation. The energy pattern shows clear signs of artificial design and purpose. Something that big, maintaining a stable orbit while actively cloaking itself, that requires intelligence and extremely advanced technology. Grace Rogers, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, stood up from her seat at the end of the table. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and an air of quiet authority. What do we know about their intentions? She asked. Have they made any attempts to communicate or take hostile actions? Alice shook her head. None that we can detect. As far as we can tell, they're just, watching us. Grace turned to the military officers. I want all our satellite data for the past 50 years reviewed. If these beings have been in orbit that long, there might be previous signs we missed. The Air Force general nodded. We've already started that process. Preliminary results suggest there may have been similar quantum disturbances dating back decades, but our equipment wasn't sensitive enough to identify them properly. We need to develop our detection capabilities further, Grace said. She looked at Alice and Frank. How quickly can you enhance your system to give us more detailed information about these observers? Alice thought for a moment. With proper funding and resources, we could have an improved version ready within 2 weeks. But to get a complete picture of their technology, we'd need to build detection arrays at multiple locations around the globe. You'll have whatever you need, Grace assured her. National security has no higher priority right now. High above Earth, Commander Lyrix reviewed the latest reports with growing concern. The humans had not only detected their presence but had begun developing new detection systems at an alarming rate. They are moving much faster than our models predicted, Lyrix said to Lieutenant Zara and the ship's chief science officer, an elder Void Watcher named Kelm. Kelm's crystalline form pulsed with deep red light, indicating serious concern. Their adaptation rate exceeds our highest estimates. We must report this development to the consortium immediately. I've already sent a preliminary report, Lyrix replied. But the nearest consortium outpost is 17 light cycles away. Even with quantum communication, we won't receive instructions for at least 3 days. Zara brought up a display showing the locations of new human detection arrays being constructed around the planet. They're establishing a global network. At their current rate of deployment, they will have complete coverage of our position within 12 days. Can we improve our cloaking technology? Lyrix asked. Kelm's form dimmed slightly. Not significantly. Our cloaking systems are already at peak efficiency. The fundamental problem is that the humans have identified the quantum signature of our technology. Once they know what to look for, there are limits to how invisible we can make ourselves. Lyrix moved to the viewing panel and looked down at Earth. Then we must prepare for the possibility of direct contact. This is not how first contact was supposed to happen, but we must adapt to the situation. Back on Earth, Alice worked through the night at the new facility the government had provided. The expanded research team now included dozens of scientists from various disciplines, all working to understand the alien presence. Frank entered the lab with 2 cups of coffee and set one down next to Alice. Any progress? Alice nodded excitedly. I think I've isolated the primary frequency of their communication system. If I'm right, we might be able to listen in on their transmissions. Can we translate them? Frank asked. Not yet, but understanding. The structure of their communications is the first step. A young scientist named Ben rushed into the lab, his eyes wide with excitement. Dr. Bennett, we're picking up a new signature from the alien vessel. It's different from anything we've seen before. Alice hurried to Ben's workstation and studied the readings. They're powering up something. It looks like some kind of communication array, pointed directly at Earth. Are they preparing to attack? Frank asked, his voice tense. Alice studied the data more carefully. I don't think so. The energy signature doesn't match any kind of weapon. It's more like they're preparing to talk to us. Grace Rogers arrived an hour later, accompanied by military officers and communication specialists. They gathered around the main monitoring station as the alien signal grew stronger. What do you think they want to say? Grace asked Alice. I don't know, but the fact that they're initiating communication after being discovered suggests they're not immediately hostile. They could have attacked as soon as we detected them, but instead they're trying to talk. On the Void Watcher vessel, Commander Lyrix prepared the first official message to humanity. The consortium protocols for unexpected first contact were clear: establish peaceful intentions, avoid cultural contamination, and assess the species' readiness for galactic interaction. Is the translation matrix ready? Lyrix asked. Zara nodded. We've analyzed all major human languages. The message will be transmitted in the 20 most common languages, starting with English, Mandarin, and Spanish. Very well. Lyrics paused, aware of the historic significance of this moment. Begin transmission. In the Earth facility, alarms sounded as the alien signal changed pattern. The main screen filled with static, then cleared to show a message in perfect English. People of Earth. We are the Void Watchers, observers from the Galactic Consortium. For many cycles, we have studied your civilization from orbit, believing ourselves undetected. Your recent discovery of our presence demonstrates technological advancement we did not anticipate. We wish to establish peaceful communication. We mean no harm. The room fell silent as everyone stared at the screen. Grace was the first to speak. Can we respond? She asked. Alice nodded. Yes, we can transmit on the same frequency. Grace looked around the room at the assembled experts, then back at the screen. This is the moment that changes human history forever. The question is, what do we say? Frank smiled slightly. How about we see you? Alice couldn't help but laugh despite the tension. Simple and to the point. I like it. Grace nodded and turned to the communications team. Prepare a response. Let them know we're ready to talk. As Earth prepared its first official message to an alien civilization, the Void Watchers waited anxiously. The observers had become the observed, and a new chapter in galactic history was about to begin. For the next 3 days, messages went back and forth between Earth and the Void Watcher vessel. The aliens shared basic information about themselves, crystalline beings from a distant star system who had evolved without the need for oxygen or water. They explained they were part of the Galactic Consortium, a loose alliance of spacefaring civilizations that shared knowledge and resources. Alice found herself working alongside linguists and diplomats to improve communication with the Void Watchers. The government had set up a dedicated communication center in a secure facility outside Washington, D.C., where experts from around the world gathered to analyze every word from the aliens. They're being careful about what technology they discuss, Alice said to Frank as they reviewed the latest messages. Notice how they never explain exactly how their cloaking systems work. Frank nodded. Can't blame them. We wouldn't share our military secrets with a newly discovered civilization either. Grace Rogers entered the room with a team of scientists and military advisors. We need to push for a face-to-face meeting, she announced. These text exchanges are too limited. The president has authorized me to invite their representatives to meet with us. Alice looked surprised. Are we ready for that? Ready or not, we need to move forward, Grace replied. Our detection systems have identified 2 more cloaked vessels in orbit. The Void Watchers aren't alone up there, and we need to understand the full situation. In his quarters aboard the main Void Watcher vessel, Commander Lyrics received the human invitation with mixed feelings. The response from the consortium had finally arrived, and it wasn't what he had expected. Instead of being ordered to withdraw and avoid further contact, he had been granted provisional authority to establish limited diplomatic relations with the humans. Lieutenant Zara entered the commander's chamber. The scout vessels report increasing. Human activity in their orbital detection systems. They've located both of our support ships. Lyrics's crystalline form pulsed with blue and orange light, indicating concern mixed with curiosity. The humans are advancing their technology at an incredible rate. The consortium's models projected it would take them at least 30 more years to develop these capabilities. What does the consortium advise? Zara asked. They grant us authority to proceed with limited contact. A small delegation may meet with the humans to assess their readiness for greater knowledge. Lyrics paused. I will lead the delegation myself. Is that wise, Commander? The humans could attempt to capture you. They could try, Lyrics replied, a flicker of amusement lighting his crystalline form. But even their rapidly advancing technology is no match for our personal defense systems. Besides, showing trust may help establish better relations. Back on Earth, preparations moved quickly for the historic meeting. The government chose a neutral location, a specially constructed facility in international waters on a platform, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Security was tight, with forces from multiple nations standing guard. though everyone understood that conventional weapons would likely be useless against beings with such advanced technology. Alice, Frank, and Grace were selected as part of the small human delegation. The night before the meeting, Alice stood on the platform's observation deck looking up at the stars. "Nervous?" Frank asked, joining her at the railing. "Terrified," Alice admitted. "Tomorrow we meet actual aliens. I became a physicist to understand the universe, but I never imagined I'd be one of the first humans to shake hands with, or whatever the equivalent is, beings from another world." "You deserve to be here," Frank said. "If you hadn't noticed those quantum fluctuations, we might still be oblivious to their presence." Alice looked up at the night sky. "Do you think there are others watching us too? Other alien species we haven't detected yet?" "Maybe," Frank replied. "But after tomorrow, the galaxy will know that humans aren't so easily spied on anymore." The meeting day arrived with clear skies and calm seas. Military vessels circled the platform at a respectful distance, while aircraft patrolled overhead. At precisely noon, sensors detected a small craft descending from the Void Watcher vessel. Unlike the massive ship in orbit, this shuttle was relatively small, about the size of a city bus. It glowed with soft blue light and made no sound as though it hovered over the landing pad. A door appeared in its smooth surface and 3 figures emerged. The Void Watchers in person were even more striking than the images they had shared. Standing about 7 feet tall, their bodies resembled humanoid shapes made of translucent crystal that pulsed with internal light. They moved with fluid grace across the platform toward the waiting human delegation. Commander Lyrics led the alien group, his form slightly larger and glowing more intensely than his companions. He stopped a few feet from the humans and raised a crystalline hand in greeting. "People of Earth," he said, his voice sounding surprisingly normal thanks to the translation device he carried. "I am Commander Lyrics of the Void Watchers. This is a historic moment for both our peoples." Grace stepped forward as Earth's designated representative. "Commander Lyrics, on behalf of the nations of Earth, welcome to our world. We hope this meeting marks the beginning of peaceful relations between our civilizations." The formal greetings continued for several minutes before the 2 delegations moved inside the facility to a conference room prepared for the discussions. As they settled around the table, Alice couldn't help but stare at the alien beings. Their crystalline bodies seemed to shift and flow slightly, changing colors with their emotions. "Dr. Bennett," Lyrics said, turning toward her, "your discovery of our presence was unexpected. The detection technology you developed is quite remarkable for your current stage of advancement." Alice felt a surge of pride mixed with nervousness. "Thank you, Commander. It was originally designed for weather research, but the quantum fluctuations from your cloaking field created distinctive patterns we couldn't ignore." "Fascinating," Lyrics replied. "Most species require much longer to develop quantum detection capabilities. Humans appear to advance technology at an unusually rapid rate when faced with challenges. We're good at solving puzzles," Frank added, "especially when the puzzle involves something watching us without our knowledge." There was an uncomfortable pause before Lyrics responded. "Our observation was never meant to be threatening. The consortium studies many developing worlds to determine when they are ready for contact." "And who decides when we're ready?" Grace asked, her tone carrying a hint of challenge. "Traditionally, the consortium does," Lyrics admitted. "But your detection of our presence has changed that approach. You have demonstrated capabilities that suggest you may be ready sooner than our models predicted." As the meeting continued, both sides carefully shared limited information. The humans explained their governmental systems and scientific achievements, while the Void Watchers outlined the basic structure of the Galactic Consortium and their role as observers. What neither side fully revealed were their defensive capabilities. Under the table, Alice's tablet quietly ran a specialized quantum scanner, collecting data on the aliens' technology. Similarly, the Void Watchers carried devices that analyzed human biology and the facility's security systems. The first contact between humanity and the Void Watchers was cautious but peaceful. As the meeting concluded, Commander Lyrics made an unexpected offer. "We would like to invite a small human delegation to visit our vessel in orbit," he said. "Perhaps Dr. Bennett and her colleague along with a representative of your government? Alice and Frank exchanged shocked glances as Grace considered the offer. We accept, Grace said firmly. When can we begin? The next morning, Alice, Frank, and Grace prepared to visit the Void Watcher vessel. They gathered at a military airbase where a special shuttle would take them to the edge of Earth's atmosphere. From there, the alien craft would retrieve them. Alice packed light, bringing only essential scientific instruments that had been approved by both sides. She felt a mix of excitement and fear as she boarded the shuttle with her colleagues. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and find this was all a dream, she said as they strapped in. Frank nodded. A month ago we were just studying weather patterns and now we're about to visit an alien spaceship. Life takes strange turns. Grace reviewed briefing documents during the flight. Remember the protocols, she reminded them. Share information freely about basic science and culture, but avoid details about military capabilities or government decision-making processes. The shuttle climbed through the atmosphere, the blue sky gradually darkening until the stars became visible. As they reached the edge of space, a small craft similar to the one that had landed on the ocean platform appeared beside them. Right on schedule, Frank said, pointing out the window. The alien shuttle matched their speed perfectly, then extended a glowing tunnel that connected to their airlock. The human pilot confirmed the connection was secure. This is as far as I go, he told them. Good luck in there. Alice led the way through the tunnel, which felt solid beneath her feet despite its translucent appearance. As they entered the alien craft, they found Lieutenant Zara waiting for them. Welcome aboard, she said through her translation device. Please follow me to the main vessel. The shuttle ride to the Void Watcher mothership took only minutes. Through the viewing panels, Alice could see Earth below them, beautiful and blue. The mothership grew larger in the windows, a massive structure that looked like a crystal palace floating in space. The shuttle docked smoothly, and the humans were led through glowing corridors to a large chamber where Commander Lyrics waited. The room had been adjusted to human comfort, with gravity matching Earth's in chairs that looked almost normal, though they were made of the same crystalline material as everything else. Welcome to our vessel, Lyrics said. You are the first humans to visit a consortium ship. This is a historic moment for both our peoples. Grace spoke first. Thank you for this opportunity, Commander. We hope this visit will build trust between our civilizations. Please be seated, Lyric said, gesturing to the chairs. I'm sure you have many questions. For the next several hours, the humans and Void Watchers exchanged information. The aliens explained that their vessel had been in Earth orbit for over 50 years, with crew rotations every few years. They shared details about their homeworld, a planet orbiting a distant star with high radiation levels that had led to their evolution as crystalline beings. Our bodies absorb and process energy directly, Zara explained. We do not eat as you do, but instead absorb various forms of radiation. Alice was fascinated. That's why your cloaking technology creates quantum disturbances. It's related to how your bodies process energy, isn't it? Lyrix's form pulsed with surprise. Your insight is remarkable, Dr. Bennett. Yes, our cloaking technology is based on the same principles that allow our bodies to absorb and redirect energy. Frank asked about the Galactic Consortium, learning that it included 27 different species from across the galaxy. Most had achieved spaceflight thousands of years before humans. Then why have none of them visited Earth before? Grace asked. Some have observed from a distance, Lyrics admitted. But the consortium has strict protocols about contacting developing civilizations. Usually we wait until a species develops interstellar travel on their own. But we forced your hand by seeing you, Alice said. Precisely, Lyrics replied. No other species at your stage of development has ever detected our observation vessels. It suggests humans possess unique problem-solving abilities that the consortium finds intriguing. After the information exchange, the Void Watchers offered a tour of parts of their vessel. Alice was amazed by their technology. Machines that seemed to operate on thought alone, rooms that changed configuration as needed, and view screens that showed distant parts of the galaxy in real time. In one laboratory, Zara showed them samples of materials from various worlds. We collect scientific data from thousands of planets. The consortium believes knowledge should be shared for the benefit of all. While Frank examined a strange plant sample, Alice noticed a display showing what looked like weapons systems. She tried to memorize the details before Zara noticed her interest and quickly changed the display. "I apologize for my curiosity," Alice said. "Your technology is fascinating." "Curiosity is a trait our species share," Zara replied. "But some knowledge must be earned rather than given." Later, in a private meeting chamber, Commander Lyrix made an unexpected offer to Grace. "The consortium wishes to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth," he said. "We propose a small Void Watcher delegation to be stationed on your planet, and in exchange, Earth may send representatives to our homeworld for cultural and scientific exchange." Grace looked surprised. "That's much faster than I expected. Why the sudden change in approach?" Lyrix's form pulsed with multiple colors. "To be frank, your detection of our vessels has caused the consortium to reevaluate humans. Your technological progress is accelerating at an unprecedented rate. Our models suggest that within 50 years you will develop interstellar travel independently. The consortium believes it would be beneficial to establish relations now, rather than wait." "There's more to it than that," Grace said, her eyes narrowing slightly. "You're concerned about what else we might discover if left to develop on our own." The alien commander was silent for a moment. "Your insight serves you well. Yes, there is concern that humanity's rapid technological advancement, combined with your somewhat aggressive history, could pose challenges if not properly channeled." "You mean you'd rather have us as allies than potential competitors?" Frank suggested. "I prefer to think of it as mutual benefit through cooperation," Lyrix replied, smoothly. "Your species has much to offer the consortium, and we have much to offer you." As the tour concluded and they prepared to return to Earth, Alice pulled Frank aside while Grace was engaged in conversation with Lyrix. "Did you notice how they steered us away from certain areas of the ship?" she whispered. Frank nodded. "And how they changed subjects whenever we asked about their defense systems?" "They're being careful," Alice said. "They respect us enough to invite us here, but they don't fully trust us yet." "Would you trust a species that caught you spying on them?" Frank asked with a smile. Before they departed, Commander Lyrix presented each of them with a small crystal, "A token of our meeting," he explained. "These contain cultural information about our world and basic information about the consortium." As their shuttle detached from the Void Watcher vessel and began its return to Earth, Alice studied her crystal. It seemed to glow from within, changing colors slightly as she turned it in her hand. "Do you think they're telling us everything?" she asked Grace quietly. Grace shook her head. "Of course not, and we're not telling them everything either. That's how diplomacy works even on Earth. But it's a start." Alice looked back at the alien vessel growing smaller behind them, then down at Earth coming into view. "Everything changes now," she said. "For better or worse, humanity isn't alone anymore." 6 months after the first contact with the Void Watchers, Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined. A small alien embassy had been established in Geneva, Switzerland, where 5 Void Watcher representatives now lived and worked alongside human diplomats and scientists. In return, 3 human ambassadors had traveled to the consortium's central world, billions of miles from Earth. Alice sat in her new laboratory at the International Space Research Center, built specifically for studying alien technology. The facility stood on the outskirts of Geneva, close enough to the Void Watcher embassy for regular collaboration. Her team had grown from just Frank to over 50 scientists from around the world. Frank entered her office, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "The results from the quantum resonance test are in," he said, placing 1 cup on her desk. "You were right. The crystalline structure does amplify energy rather than just conducting it." Alice smiled. "That explains how their cloaking technology works. It doesn't just bend light around their ships, it redirects all forms of energy. And we might be able to replicate it," Frank added with excitement. "Not immediately, but the principles are understandable. It's not magic, just very advanced science." Alice picked up the small crystal that Commander Lyrics had given her during their visit to the Void Watcher vessel. She had studied it extensively and discovered it contained more than just cultural information. Hidden within its structure were the basic principles of several advanced technologies. Not enough to build them, but enough to point human scientists in the right direction. "They're testing us," Alice said, "giving us pieces of the puzzle to see what we do with them." Grace Rogers arrived at the laboratory later that day for their weekly briefing. As Earth's chief ambassador to the consortium, she now coordinated all official interactions with the alien representatives. "How are the Void Watchers treating you?" Alice asked as they settled in the conference room. "With increasing respect," Grace replied. "They've admitted that they underestimated how quickly humans would adapt to their presence. The consortium expected years of confusion and fear. Instead, we've established working relations in months," Franco laughed. "They thought they were dealing with primitive monkeys and now they're scrambling to keep up." "Don't get overconfident," Grace warned. "They're still centuries ahead of us technologically. But yes, our adaptability has surprised them. The Void Watchers have shared more information in the past month than in the first 5 months combined." Alice brought up a holographic display showing designs for Earth's first faster-than-light communication system, based partly on consortium technology but modified by human engineers. "With this system, we'll be able to communicate instantly with our ambassadors in the consortium, no matter the distance," she explained. "It's our first step toward true interstellar capability." "The Void Watchers were reluctant to share this technology," Grace said. "But after our team developed the theoretical framework independently, they decided it was better to help us do it safely than let us figure it out on our own." Another test passed, Frank noted with satisfaction. Across the city in the Void Watcher, Embassy Commander Lyrics met with the newly arrived consortium overseer, a senior official named Valar. Unlike the other Void Watchers, Valar's crystalline form was ancient, with layers that had formed over thousands of years, giving him a more complex appearance. "You were right to establish formal relations," Valar said after reviewing the reports on human progress. "Their advancement rate exceeds all our models." Lyrics's form pulsed with pride. "I believed my decision would be validated. The humans have taken to consortium knowledge with remarkable speed, yet they are not simply copying our technology. They are adapting it, sometimes improving it. That is what concerns some members of the High Council," Valar admitted. "Most species take generations to assimilate new technological concepts. Humans do it in months. If this rate continues, they could reach our level within a century." "Is that a problem?" Lyrics asked. "The consortium has always valued diversity of thought. Humans offer a fresh perspective." Valar moved to the window overlooking the human city. "Not everyone shares your optimism, Commander. Some fear that humanity's aggressive history, combined with rapid technological advancement, could destabilize the balance of power in the consortium." "What do they propose?" Lyrics asked, his form darkening with concern. "Some have suggested implementing technological restrictions, sharing knowledge more slowly, carefully controlling what humans can access." "That would be a mistake," Lyrics said firmly. "Humans value independence. Any attempt to restrict them would create distrust." "What do you suggest instead?" Valar asked. "Full integration. Bring them into the consortium as equals, not as subjects. Their world has resources we need, and their minds offer new solutions to old problems. We can guide them without controlling them." Back at the research center, Alice made a breakthrough while studying the quantum properties of the Void Watcher crystal. She rushed to Frank's lab, her face glowing with excitement. "I figured it out," she exclaimed. "The crystal doesn't just store information, it's a key to accessing the consortium's knowledge network. With the right equipment, we can connect directly to their central database." Frank looked up from his work, eyes wide. "Are you sure? That would give us access to centuries of advanced technology." "I'm positive," Alice replied. "And I don't think they intended for us to discover this so quickly. It was probably meant as a test for years down the road." They immediately informed Grace, who called an emergency meeting with government officials and top scientists. After hours of debate, a decision was made. We will inform the Void Watchers of our discovery, Grace announced. Accessing their network without permission would violate the trust we've built. We'll request proper access instead. When Commander Lyrix was informed of the humans' discovery, his reaction surprised the Void Watcher embassy staff. Instead of concern, his crystalline form pulsed with what could only be described as laughter. 6 months, he said to Valar. I predicted it would take them at least 5 years to discover the network key. They continue to exceed all expectations. Valar's ancient form shifted colors slowly. This settles the debate. The High Council must accept that humans cannot be managed like other developing species. They must be accepted as equals or not at all. In a formal ceremony 1 week later, Earth was officially invited to join the Galactic Consortium as a probationary member, the fastest ascension in consortium history. The usual waiting period of 50 years was waived in recognition of humanity's unique capabilities. As Alice, Frank, and Grace stood on the stage alongside Commander Lyrix during the ceremony, Alice whispered, "Not bad for a species they thought was too primitive to notice them watching us." Frank grinned. "Turns out the greatest power humans have isn't our technology, but our ability to adapt and overcome challenges." Grace nodded in agreement. They came expecting to find simple subjects to study. Instead, they found partners. As the human and alien representatives signed the formal agreement, a new chapter began for both civilizations. The observers had become allies, and humanity took its first step into the wider galaxy. Not as followers, but as equals who had earned their place among the stars.